Hi, I am back with another video. I'm going to do another music one. I bookmarked a bunch of stuff on YouTube that either I've never heard before or I've heard before, but I haven't heard it in a while, and I just found it on YouTube. So I'm just going to go through this kind of list and just give some first impressions. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on any of these uh, artists. Some I know a lot about, but most I don't. So I'm just going to give you my impression of the music. I don't know, words may fail me. I'm not sure. Sometimes I'm good at that, and sometimes I'm not good at that. So we will see which it is today. So the first thing I noticed that I thought was interesting, because I get a lot of cool recommendations along the sidebar. I'm sure everybody does on YouTube because we're data mined to death in this world. So this is this one called Tadashi Goino Group, 1979, Messenger from the Seventh Dimension. Uh, all the song titles are in kanji, Japanese characters. I have no idea if this is like a concept album, if it's a Japanese prog album, if it's a soundtrack to an anime. It has kind of an anime-ish artistic cover. Anime-ish, that's kind of not a word, but it's got like these kind of like whirring kind of whooshing ARP Odyssey kind of synthesizer sounds, and then some droning and chanting. And I really have no idea where it's going to go. If it's going to be completely stay atmospheric or congeal into like songs or more composed pieces. Um, it does have a lot of well, it has a lot of ambiance and a lot of atmosphere. Kind of scary at times. Kind of creepy. It definitely kind of evokes like you're going into the other dimension and you have no clue what's happening there. And then it gets into some more familiar kind of Asian instrumentation, uh, and then into more kind of atmospheric sounds like found sounds and nature sounds, thunder, lightning, and rain. And I don't know where this is going. I think it's a concept album. I'm not sure. Uh, but it could definitely be a soundtrack to something. Uh, about halfway through, it's got some nice little melodies, uh, very mellow synthesizer, electric guitar, little jazzy, but not overly. And then there's a song sung in Japanese. Of course, I can't read the title because I can't read the kanji, and it's weird. It doesn't have like a constant rhythm. And again, it could be people singing, but I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how much the vocals have lyrics that actually are narrating something, or they're just kind of you know for effect. And then lots of kind of pew pew ping ping sounds, and it's kind of going on kind of toward the end like that. It's just I guess it's just kind of strange atmosphere, but it's really good at evoking that. Not sure if it's a keeper or not, but I'm gonna keep it bookmarked. Um, there's some other ones here. From this odd group called the Surfabats, because I've been listening to a lot of surf guitar music, and keep getting recommended some good ones. Surfabats are a band, they're a trio, and they do all covers, instrumental covers of all kinds of different songs by various kinds of artists, um, but all in the surf guitar idiom. So they all kind of have arranged the things to have the kind of faster beat, backbeat, and the guitars have your tremolo and reverb kind of heavy washes on top of them. This one has some weird ones. Apache, that's kind of a predictable one by the Shadows. some of these I don't recognize the artist just by the title, but I know they're well. A Forest is a Cure song. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I think we know that. Ennio Morricone. Holiday in Cambodia, Dead Kennedys, which is kind of an overlap because East Bay Ray had a lot of surf guitar influence in his leads with the Dead Kennedys. Um, and so that album's called Surfabats, just self-titled. So then they did another one that has some even more bizarre cover choices called The Legend of Surfabats. This has like Take on Me from Aha, Das Model by Kraftwerk, Enola Gay, My Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. Um, if there's a light, then is there a light that never goes out? I'm pretty sure that's the Smiths. Um, Ring of Fire, I guess it's the Johnny Cash song. Viva Las Vegas, which Dead Kennedys covered too. Summertime Blues, Eddie Cochran, which has been covered to death. So it's really weird, especially the OMD. The OMD song is just too peppy. I don't know, it's a trip. So I listened to a few minutes of this earlier. Now I'm kind of just tripping through, and these guys, they're all in black, and they have kind of like pretty cool hats, and one guy's big goggles. Two guys have goggles on their hats. Maybe they're like steampunks. But anyway, that's the Surfabats. Bass player's really good. When you're doing those 80s new wave kind of songs, you got to have that kind of thumbing Peter Hook like bass ability. Beyond that, there's some other surf rock ones I have down bookmarked, but I'm not going to cover all of them yet. I might mention a few. I found this one called Aktuala, and this is a self-titled album from 1973, and I know nothing about this group. This is on a channel called Terminal Passage. That's a YouTube channel I highly recommend. He has unearthed so much incredible music from the past. A lot of 60s and 80s, but huge amount of 70s stuff. 70s continues to kind of be a bottomless well of awesome stuff. It's got some free jazz elements, some wild, insane horns. Instrumentation, it's got like bass clarinet, balalaika, bongos, drums, tablas, oboes, flutes, piccolos, whistles, percussion. And these are all played by like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Oh yeah, the other one is two horn, 6 people. One's a 2 horn player, saxophone. I thought that was a tenor sax as the lead instrument, and one's another percussionist. This saxophonist is named Danielle Cavallanti. I don't know if that's a male or a female. It's Danielle with 1 L. It could be like the Italian first name. And it seems like this is probably Italian from the names and such. Italians have a really incredible, rich history of prog, especially in the 70s. There's bands like Area and, Goblin, of course. And another band I can't remember the name of that was from that kind of era that's incredible and should have been as popular as Goblin. I can't remember their name. But there's also a lot of solo artists and composers, and a lot of them did work for Italian films. Morricone, of course, but you've got like Piero Umiliani. All his albums are strong. I haven't heard them all, but I've heard about a dozen, and his soundtracks are all great. Stelvio Cipriani, another great one. He did some soundtracks for Mario Bava. His stuff I always love. Some of these people just, like I said, Goblin, Morricone, Bruno Nicolai, who was Morricone's arranger, and then he went on to do some other scores. His stuff is often very good. Alejandro Travajoli, he's awesome. It's really a bunch of these that I downloaded at one time. I had this whole kind of Italian prog file And oh yeah, Piero Picconi, another great soundtrack artist, Louis Bacalov, he did the original famous Django theme song. Um, a guy like who's kind of minor but cool is Niccolo Piovani. He did a great one for Flavia the Heretic, which I reviewed on this channel a few months ago on Blu-ray. Uh, for years, there was a rumor that Piovani was actually a pseudonym of Morricone, and I thought, well, Morricone has already got like 400 soundtracks to his credit. Why does he need to like make a pseudonym and try to palm some others off? And it turns out he's not Morricone. But Piovani did, I believe, win or was nominated for an award for his soundtrack to Life is Beautiful, Roberto Benigni film. Uh, the other Italian one I was trying to remember was Osana. I just recently got into them, and again, there's somebody kind of like uh, a heavy prog band like Goblin that's at least as good as Goblin. A little bit different though, but incredible guitar playing. Very eclectic and aggressive. Um, so this Actuala is it's kind of goes back and forth from kind of ambient and experimental, kind of maybe improv, and then the recurring kind of free jazz, little bursts of saxophone and such. Um, it's got a lot of nice percussion, some nice tabla, and it's cool. It's like an atmospheric kind of experimental album, kind of like the records I was trying to get into the '90s, like Peter Maxwell Davies and stuff like that. Some of the weirder free jazz stuff. Um, this could also be a soundtrack. Uh, I rediscovered another one that was recommended to me. I think I downloaded a while back uh, because I landed on Actuala. I was recommended to the Mike Manieri Quartet, and there's a great album from 1968 called Insight. And this one is just also in the Terminal Passage channel. This is a four-person band, bass guitar, drums, and led by Mike Manieri, who's a vibraphone player. I love vibes. I seek out vibe players. Maybe I'll do a whole vibe player thing sometime. Uh, it's a very soothing sound, the percussive and yet melodic kind of nature of it. It's like you've got the best of both worlds, like a piano and a drum. And of course, there's people who are super famous on vibes like Lionel Hampton, and then of course people who use it a lot in their music for texture, like Martin Denny. My favorite vibe player is how would I say Bobby Hutcherson? It's a avant-garde jazz. He's amazing. He one of his more well-known works as far as his sound would be Eric Dolphy's "Out to Lunch" from like 1964, I think, which is really like the classic jazz albums. "Out to Lunch" is just it's one of those albums like Kind of Blue or several of Coltrane's. It's just one of those that is like an emblematic. It's like a paradigm of great avant-garde jazz. Every composition is tight, and everybody's playing great. They're all on, and also all the solos and improvs, especially the ones by Eric Dolphy, are just tremendous. And Eric Dolphy is somebody I think a lot of people, a lot of jazz people die young, have died young, even more than a lot of rock people. Especially considering that jazz careers usually go on till they're dead. I mean, these guys are playing like Haynes, Lewis Haynes, Roy Haynes, the drummer. He's 94 and he's still playing, and he's playing well. But a lot of jazz people did die in their 20s and 30s, and a lot of drug overdoses and jealous lovers shooting them and weird diseases. Um, I can't remember how Eric Dolphy passed, but he was. I don't believe he was older than 35. Yeah, maybe 37 at the oldest. Not going to Google it, but feel free to. But that was a great loss because he died like the mid 60s. He died before Coltrane, and Coltrane was 39, going on 40 when he died in 1967. And he died like shortly after he recorded works like Stellar Regions, and which didn't come out for like 20 years, and Interstellar Space uh, with Rashid Ali on drums. It's just sax and drums. Coltrane's like one of my favorite musicians. He's like my favorite musical artist of all time, second only to Black Sabbath. So I'm not going to try to like review Coltrane stuff because it's it's ubiquitous and it's indescribable. But I was going to say before I move on that Michael Manieri, this vibe player, is my friend Reggie Dennis. Reggie Dennis, ladies and gentlemen, a longtime buddy of mine, pointed out to me that he was the founder of a fusion band, and I can't remember the name of it. It had three other really well-known people, and I don't know if it'd be worth searching here on YouTube or not. Maybe. Mike and yeah, I don't know if it would. I don't know if it would come up this way or not. But I was surprised at who all was in it, and it was after this album that I'm talking about here. So he's got some other albums that I should probably grab a hold of. Journey Through an Electric Tube, and it's got him with a vibe set, and it's kind of a science fiction kind of shot, like a bird's eye view. It looks like a shot out of the movie Seconds. I think it's Steps Ahead. Yeah, Steps Ahead, and it was Michael Manieri, Michael Brecker on sax, Eddie Gomez bass, Peter Erskine drums, and Elian Elias piano. I believe they had a famous guitar player at one time too, but I could be wrong about that. But anyway, yeah, another kind of fusion, kind of super group. There's actually a really cool clip here. It's like an hour-long concert of Steps Ahead in Copenhagen from 1983. So now I have that bookmarked. So I'll just hit a few others on the list and then wrap up. I'm going to keep it kind of varied. Let's see. I have discovered a new atmospheric black metal band that I like called Krallice. It's Krallice. And they have several albums, and their stuff is it's very heavy. It's kind of like death metal in the sense, more than black metal in the sense that it's more technical and tight. But it's got a lot of the weird atmosphere of some of the cosmic black metal bands that are kind of science fiction themed, which are just, incredible. That's just an incredible hybridization there. It's like space rock taken to the, absolute limit of human endurance. But Krallice has a lot of that. They have an album, Years Past Matter, that has a great deal of the cosmic metal kind of thing. And a few other interesting titled albums. Mass Cathexis, which has a very kind of bizarre cover painting. All the covers are great, and they're all on Colin Marston's channel. And I'm thinking that Colin Marston is actually the guitarist. He is. He's the guitarist of Krallice. So these are all on his own channel on YouTube. So it's so cool that we're in this period of independent DIY. You can just record your music at home and just slap it onto YouTube, and then potentially millions can hear it. This album's Mass Cathexis starts with an incredible title, Feed on the Blood of Rats. But this stuff has some really convoluted guitar lines. This guy, Colin Marston, he's amazing. But I really like their sound and their arrangements. It is really way out, and it does remind me of Death a little bit, the band Death, and some of their more ambitious kind of arrangements. And they are like a full band. A lot of the experimental black metal stuff now is like one or two people recording everything. But this one actually is like a 5-person full band. So in that sense, they're also a little more like a death metal group. This was recorded in 2019 and 2020 at Minigroth, the Thousand Caves, like an ancient evil studio in Queens, New York. So that's somebody to keep in mind. I've bookmarked 4 of their albums, and I may have already downloaded them, but I haven't listened to any of them all the way through. And I rediscovered an old favorite, which I mentioned in another video of mine. So I finally got this, uh, instead of having to record the album in parts, like compile all the tracks on a playlist, somebody actually posted the whole album, so the whole 40-minute album uninterrupted. So I downloaded it. It's Thin Lizzy, Renegade, and like with most Thin Lizzy, it's just awesome. Phil Lynott just has this crazy, funky storyteller, funky Irish storyteller persona. He's kind of like a trickster character, kind of. He's larger than life. He passed away in the mid 80s, and one of the first rock stars that died that I was aware of that I actually shed a tear. One of maybe the first that I was like, wow, I'm really into this guy right now, and he's relevant to me because I was playing Jailbreak, that album, all the summer before. Um, I like most of their albums. I don't dislike any of their albums. Some are a little more kind of repetitive than others, but Renegade is one of their last albums. I think it is their next to last album before Thunder and Lightning. And they had a lot of lineup changes. Phil being the constant. Brian Downey stayed their drummer most of their career, if not just about all. I think Mark Nosif did percussion for a little bit. But there was a revolving door of guitar players, and near the end they acquired a keyboard player, Darren Morton. Um, but anyway, Scott Gorham was one of their dual lead guitar players, starting with like their fourth album, all the way to the end of their career. And he would always have a partner. His most famous one would be Brian Robertson. They did the incredible twin lead work on the album Jailbreak. All these famous songs like Boys Are Back in Town, Jailbreak, Cowboy Song, um, Warrior. Oh my God, it's just amazing solos. By the time they got to Renegade, Brian Robertson had been out of the band quite a while. He joined Motorhead briefly and did one album with Motorhead. And some hardcore Motorhead fans are like, nah, he didn't look like he belonged to Motorhead. He has short hair and his stuff's too melodic. And it's like, Lemmy's not thinking that way, man. Lemmy's open to all kinds of music, was. And that album, Another Perfect Day, is my favorite Motorhead album. But Gary Moore, great guitar player from Coliseum 2, very famous solo career. He was in and out of Thin Lizzy during that period. A guy named Snowy White. I'm trying to remember who the guitarist with Gorham is on Renegade. It probably is Snowy White because the last guitarist they had, second guitarist they had, was John Sykes, who was on Thunder and Lightning. And this doesn't sound like John Sykes. It could be, but I don't think it is. I'm going to commit like metal heresy here, but I've never liked John Sykes' guitar playing or his sound. Briefly when I was pretty young, but he never fit in Thin Lizzy to me. I mean, he did help make Thin Lizzy's last album more of a metal album, but and he's really famous. He did the guitar work on White Snake's breakthrough self-titled album. That was one of the biggest things he did. And I think he had the band Blue Murder. Had Ray Gillen on vocals for a little bit. I don't know what he's doing now, but one thing he did years later that I disliked was he reformed Thin Lizzy. So Lynott had been dead like 10 years or more. And John Sykes reformed it with a bunch of new musicians, like the bass player from Twisted Sister. They eventually got Scott Gorham on the double lead, so they had a little more legitimacy. But it really, and they didn't do any new albums. They just toured and played Thin Lizzy songs, and John Sykes kind of sang them. Last note before I move on to the wrap up this video is that I mentioned this on a recent video while listening to this album. The second track on Renegade is called Angel of Death. I first heard this around the time it came out, 1981. I was very young, heard it on the radio. Man, it freaked me out. It was like the heaviest song I'd heard up to that time. This is before I really heard Black Sabbath or anything of that nature, or even AC/DC or anything that I considered like super heavy back then. I mean, those bands are super heavy, but just the riff, and it's got weird kind of atmospheric, kind of very electronic keyboards. and then it goes into this just incredible heavy riff and just amazing guitar. And Lennox's vocals are really powerful, and he's telling a story about the end of days, basically, you know, an angel of death. The lyrics are some of maybe my favorite lyrics of his, as far as just not that aren't like personal, like emotional lyrics, but like storytelling. Um, I seen buildings ablazing, going up in flame. I heard men, women, and children crying out to their God for mercy, but their God didn't listen. So they were burned alive, and they'll go down, down, deep underground. And I love the second part is I was hanging out in Berlin in the year 1939. I saw Hitler stormtroopers march right across the Maginot Line. I've seen two world wars. I've seen Manson rockets out into space, and I predict an angel of death descending to destroy the human race. So brilliant. So with that cheery note, I'm going to wrap up, and thank you. Take care.